Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for the Vampire Diaries Season 5, Episode 19, Man on Fire. And, oh my god, guys, this episode was amazing. I really loved everything about it, and by far the best episode of the season, this episode. I mean, it was a fantastic episode. I really loved everything about it, and let's just get to it, because I was really into this episode. And I think part of the reason it was so good was because we focused so much on Enzo. I loved the Enzo-centric, it was Enzo-centric. We had a lot of focus on Enzo, and it really got us to care about his character more. I mean, I cared about his character before, but I care even more about his character now, and I think that was great about this episode, kind of like what the 100 did with the two characters on the 100, Octavia and Bellamy. I like that they did that. I like that a lot of the CW shows this week had really big episodes, minus the originals, which their episode was big. They killed off someone, but I think the Vampire Diaries, they had a lot of flashbacks in this one, so let's just get to it. The main plot in this episode has to deal with Enzo, basically framing Stefan, for killing Maggie. So he's sitting with Stefan, tells him to go away because Damon's not there. Enzo says he needs to chat and asks Elena if Caroline told her about his search for Maggie. By the way, Caroline is not in this episode. She's MIA. Honestly, Caroline did not need to be in this episode. I feel like it was fine that Caroline was not in the episode because she didn't have to be in it. So, Enzo said, basically, he says they talked for hours and developed an attachment. He says she left in 1950, likely went on to teach at university and live her life. He shows them something Sloane, the traveler, gave her, and it's a photo of Maggie dead on the floor. So Enzo says Maggie died in 1960 in Mystic Falls. Someone tore the head off her body, and Elena asked if that was when Stefan was a Ripper. So basically, Enzo thinks that because of, him doing this, because of, Stefan being a Ripper, he thinks the only person that could have done this is Stefan. He starts questioning Stefan. He tried to get Liv over to work some magic, for him, to get him to confess something. She holds Stefan and Elena at bay with her magic, because Enzo has her brother Luke. She tells him she's sorry, she lets on the magic pain, and Enzo resumes questioning Stefan. So, Enzo recalls Maggie's sweet face as he drinks. Luke tries to reason with his sister, let him take her place, but Enzo sends him and his captors away. Enzo has compelled everyone in the barn is torturing the two other vampires with ropes dipped in vervain water. Enzo says he'll let everyone go once Stefan admits that he killed her, and he shows Stefan a journal found on Maggie's body. From here, we get a lot of really cool flashbacks. By the way, the flashbacks in this episode, when the Vampire Diaries does flashbacks, they're always amazing, and it was amazing. They looked amazing in this episode. The time period was great. I love the flashbacks in this episode. I always love it when the Vampire Diaries does flashbacks, because they just do them so well. They get the time period right, they get the hair right, they get, everything right about the flashbacks, and I think they did such a great job with them in this episode. And that's one of the best things about Vampire Diaries, I think. Enzo reads from it, and she writes about not finding love, and then he came back to Whitmore looking for Enzo, but he died in the fire. Stefan says by 1960 he was cleaned up, and Enzo calls Damon, who is frustrated in his traveler hunt. He asks Damon to look for something in Stefan's journals, and says his brother burned them all. So Damon realizes Enzo is with Stefan and Elena, and asks why he has his murder voice on. Damon asks what the problem is. Enzo tells him that Stefan ripped Maggie in the 60s, but before Damon can defend Stefan, Enzo hangs up on him. Enzo looks up the history of the night Maggie died. It was the night of the presidential election where JFK gained the presidency, and Stefan thinks back. So we see another flash. So we see a flashback here. So we see a woman in Mystic Falls, and I thought this was a pretty cool scene, the way they did this. Stefan bites the woman just a little bit. By the way, the way Maggie looked in this episode was not how I pictured her to look. I pictured Maggie to look kind of similar to Caroline, and that was why Enzo was going after Caroline in that one episode, was because Caroline reminded him of Maggie, but she looked nothing like that at all, and I thought that was actually kind of interesting. Maggie's there and tells him basically, we're still in the flashback, Maggie is there, and, she tells him that she knows who Stefan and Damon are, and he asks what she knows about them, and she says she's been searching for Damon because he says his brother is a monster and she shouldn't talk to him. So she says she wants to kill Damon, not talk to him. Stefan goes all vampire, but he says he just did it to scare him. and Enzo chokes Bonnie, says he's going to kill her. Stefan tells him to stop and says he did kill Maggie. And I knew when Stefan said that, I'm like, he did not kill Maggie. I thought that, you know, the reason that Stefan said that, basically, I think he said that because he just kind of like, alright, he thinks I killed, Maggie, I should probably just go along with it, you know, if I confess that I did kill Maggie, maybe he'll leave me alone about it, maybe I won't, you know, I won't have to worry about it, and I just thought that scene, I'm just like, Stefan did not kill Maggie, this is way too predictable. We were only, like, I believe, 20 minutes into the episode, and I'm like, he did not kill Maggie. I kept thinking Damon did it because, you know, Damon was very close to Enzo, and Damon was kind of a killer back then, so that scene where he said his brother was a monster and everything, I was pretty sure that he killed Maggie. So Damon calls Caroline and gets her voicemail. As I said, Caroline's not in the episode. So, he talks to Sheriff Forbes and asks her about a murder on November 8th, 1960. She has a vial, shows it to him, and he says he knows Stefan didn't kill Maggie, and she asks how he knows, and then we got the big reveal. He says to Sheriff Forbes, because I killed her, and I'm like, I knew it. I knew that, you know, Damon was the one that killed Maggie. It was so obvious, and I was happy they revealed it, because I'm like, how long are they going to make us think that Stefan did it? I thought that was honestly, it was well done, because it was, you know, it was shocking, when he thought it was Stefan, but I knew it was Damon the second he said it was Stefan, because Stefan's not like Damon at all. We've seen that previously. He's not like Damon at all. She asks him to, basically, then we see that they're in this secret lab. She asks him to make her a vampire, and says she can save him if she has the strength. You know, basically, we see another flashback with Enzo and Maggie, and they're in a secret lab. She asks him to make her a vampire, and says she can save him if she has the strength. The doctor's back, tells him to hurry and do it. He bites his wrist, tells her to take his hand, rips off her vervain bracelet, compels her. He tells her to leave, never come back and forget that I ever existed, and then I love you. She backs up, picks up her bracelet, hands it to him, though it's burning her skin. She takes it and leaves. So Enzo now toys with his lighter, drinks whiskey. He goes back to Stefan, stabs him again. He's enjoying torturing him. Stefan screams, and, you know, he's torturing Stefan some more. Obviously, you know, nobody's really happy about this. You know, they're not happy. But Damon shows up, and Damon tells him straight out to let go of the hostages, and Enzo asks whose side he's on. Damon says he gets it that seeing Maggie again was his safety line, but he says there's probably a chapter in Elena's psych book about it, and asks Stefan if he's Elena's study buddy now, and Damon says the thing is, he didn't know she was his Maggie. He says he got a message from a woman on election night and went to meet her, and then we get a really good flashback here. Again, this was very well done. You know, basically, Maggie tells him she's this reporter and wants to write an article on him. Again, he did not know this was Maggie at this point, so I'm sure if Damon, because Enzo's his best friend. We saw that Enzo is Damon's best friend. We know this. You know, Damon would do anything for Enzo because he's his best friend. He was his cellmate, so basically, you know, I don't think he would have killed Maggie if he didn't know. It was all accidental, it turns out. You know, he had no idea it was Maggie. She asked him about the fire of 1958. He says he remembers it. Maggie asks her about her quote since over a dozen people died. She says he's being guilt, and he tells her he's sorry. He has a switch in his head that turns off unwanted feelings. And she pulls out a syringe, tries to stab him, sees the Augustine logo, and assumes she's there to take him back. He rips her head off and walks away. So, you know, it was pretty accidental what happened. He didn't actually mean to kill her. But Enzo closed his eyes, and he's thinking hard about what to do. You know, he's pretty much like, what do I do in this situation? Because, you know, he doesn't want to hurt Damon or kill Damon or anything. But he kind of, you know, he flips his humanity switch, and Damon tries to stop him, but it's too late. Enzo opens his eyes, tells Damon he was right. Now he doesn't have a care in the world. And, you know, he's turned his humanity off. So, it's honestly really sad. You know, Enzo turned his humanity off. He's really, really crushed by the fact that Damon would do something like this. He never thought Damon would do this. And he's really crushed by the fact that he did this. So, Enzo drinks, smashes the bottle, says it's fun not caring. Damon agrees it is. Enzo toasts Maggie that he says he feels nothing for her now, because honestly, now that he found out what Damon did, he doesn't give a shit about her. And basically, Damon offers to leave with him to go wherever he wants. Enzo releases all the hostages except Liv. He says he wants to test something and grabs her up and then takes a drink. chokes Damon. Stefan breaks free of his ropes, but Enzo splashes him with vervain water, snatches Elena, and takes off. Damon tells Stefan to help the dying witch while he goes after Enzo and Elena, and Stefan tells Damon that he can't save Enzo, and it's really sad that he can't save Enzo. Damon calls Enzo and begs him not to hurt Elena and says if he won't ever ask him for anything again. And Elena tells Enzo that she knows what he's feeling and says he's just biding his time until it all comes crashing back around. Because if you remember, Elena turned her humanity off last season, and I was very happy they brought back to that, because I was thinking, okay, Enzo turned his humanity off, they're probably going to reference Elena doing it, and I was really happy they did that, because Elena was a bitch in those episodes, yes, but those were really good episodes last season. I mean, this season I think is better than last season. Last season was good, but I feel like this season's a little bit better. But I like that they did do a reference to Elena turning off her humanity. She fights him, but he dominates and breaks her neck. Stefan's there, and Enzo asks where Damon is. Stefan says he found him first, and they face off. Stefan throws Elena through a car windshield, and they brawl full on. And it's pretty intense here. Damon finds Elena, panics, but then realizes she's just out, scoops her up, and walks off. Enzo's getting the better of Stefan, says he bets Stefan wishes he had killed him back when he had the chance. Stefan is lying against the car, injured when Enzo punches through the gas tank, pulls out his lighter. He asks Stefan if they should burn together or just Stefan. Stefan then grabs Enzo by the heart, holds him close. Stefan says without his emotions, Enzo cannot be saved, and Stefan says he knows Enzo won't stop until he kills Damon. Enzo tells him it'll be a sweet piece of revenge. Again, he has no humanity, so he does not give a shit about what he's doing. And basically, Stefan looks very confused. Enzo throws himself backwards so that Stefan inadvertently rips out his heart, grabs Enzo's phone, and plays the message from Damon and looks very troubled. Damon brings Elena in, lays her on her bed. He gets a text from Enzo that basically says, Cape Horn it is. So basically, he wants Stefan to try and cover up Enzo's death. That's what he wants to do. He wants to cover up Enzo's death. And Damon strokes Elena's face. She comes to it, sits up, but there's no one there. Stefan shows up, hugs Elena, asks if she's okay. And I like this scene because, again, they're getting closer, and I like that. She says she doesn't know, and he tells her Damon thinks Enzo left town. He says this world would destroy Damon, and they just got him back, and she reluctantly agrees. As we know, though, he's dead. Or is he? So then Damon is drinking when Stefan comes home, and he tells him he knows what Stefan is thinking. He says he knows he's mad at him about Enzo being in their lives. Damon tells him he can fix Enzo so he's not a threat. Stefan tells him he checked on Elena that she's alright. Damon says she knows since he was the only one that took her home. He asks why he didn't leave a note, and he says he doesn't need to score points with her. Stefan tells Damon the Enzo thing is not his fault and says he should just leave the guy alone. And Damon tells him that when they were trapped together and he would complain about Stefan. And Enzo defended Stefan and told him he was lucky to have a brother to love and go on for. And he says Enzo stopped him from hating Stefan and that's why he owes him and has to help him. So, that's really big. That's kind of why Damon, wanted to help him. So then we see that Enzo is now a ghost. He's still alive and he's a ghost. He's not dead, he's dead, but he's a ghost. He says he never lets go of a vendetta and that this is the good one that's just getting started. So now, Enzo is going to be a villain. He's going to be a very villainous character. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen next, for his character. I think it's going to be great, whatever happens. And I love the main plot. I love the way it went. I love the flashbacks. I loved everything about it. Let's get to the subplot, which I definitely really enjoyed. So Jeremy and Matt are tearing up Tyler's house, but they can't find the Traveler knife. And as we know, that Traveler knife is actually with Tyler. Tyler wakes up in chains, panics, and then Julian, the Traveler in his body, takes over. He's like, where the hell am I? And I thought it was just really cool with these scenes. I really like these scenes. Marcos tells him their days of living on the run are nearly over. He calls Sloan, the other Travelers, over, and he tells them they have lived too long without a home because of the witch's curse. And he says he has to have the power to undo the curse. Offers Sloan's Tyler's blood to start the experiment to break the curse. She does, and he slices her throat, and she falls to the floor. So, then, then what happens after that? there wasn't too much going on with this subplot because of everything that was going on with Damon and Elena. Bonnie's with Matt and Jeremy, and they tell her they think the Travelers have Tyler, and they tell her they're stuck on Damon's threat. Bonnie asks to speak to Jeremy alone. Matt leaves them. Jeremy asks why she's so serious. He asks what it is, and Bonnie tells him if the other side goes away, she will too, but tells him Liv thinks there may be a way to save her, and, it's pretty big there. The Travelers chant as Sloane wakes up. Marco says it's the moment of truth. He asks if she's still a vampire or is human again. Slices her hands and says, and the biggest thing, the biggest twist of the episode is when we see Sloane wake up. This was just a really big scene. It turns out that when Sloane wakes up, she has a cut on her hand, but it doesn't heal. So basically what we found out is if you have doppelganger blood and you're a vampire, you can turn back into a human from doppelganger blood. So I am really interested in seeing where this is going. I don't know where this is going to go, but we're going to have to see. I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see what's going to happen there. And I loved that scene. That was probably my favorite scene of the episode because it was just such a huge twist. I would have never thought that happened. I did forget to talk about the last part. Bonnie's with Matt and Jeremy. Tell her they think the Travelers have Tyler. And the really sad thing is that Bonnie asks to speak to Jeremy alone. Jeremy asks why she's so serious. He asks what it is. And Bonnie tells him if the other side goes away, then she will too. But tells him Liv thinks there may be a way to save her. Stefan calls and tells her, and that's pretty sad at this point. But yeah, that was the episode, and it was amazing, personally. I loved everything that happened, but my question is, now that we know this whole thing going on with if you, if you're a doppelganger, if you have doppelganger blood, and you're a vampire, you can turn back into a human, I wonder what's going to happen with that in the finale. I feel like this is going to be like The Cure, where everybody wants it. I think that's basically what this is going to be. This basically is a new vampire cure, except it's really easy to do. You just have to have doppelganger blood. So basically now Marcos wants to get all the other Travelers to have this doppelganger blood so he can turn all of the vampires back into humans so they can take over. That's his plan. And I'm wondering if he's going to succeed. I don't know. However, we have, I think, 3 more episodes left of this season, and I heard those next 3 episodes are going to be huge, and a lot of people are going to die. They said 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 major deaths are coming. So who do I think is going to die? At this point, I'm thinking Bonnie will die, because she's died a million times, yes, but I think because of the Travelers, she's probably going to die. They said major character, so I'm assuming she will die. Matt will die because he's had a really big story arc this season, and I feel like the only way for them to close out that story arc is for Matt to die. And the only other person I think will die this season is going to be Tyler. Tyler, because I think Tyler's going to die because he's taken over by this Traveler. Plus, I think he pretty much, doesn't have too much else to do on the show, so I think if he dies, it'll be actually a really good thing. But this episode was absolutely amazing. I know I loved last week's, but this one was like 10 times better because of all the Enzo stuff. And Enzo, he's a ghost now, so what is he going to do against them? What is he going to do to them? I'm not really sure. I don't really know what's going to happen there. What's going to happen with this new vampire cure? I'm really interested in seeing that. That was by far my favorite part of the episode. I cannot wait to see what happens there. And, also, do you think Stefan and Damon, do you think they're getting closer as brothers? I feel like now they're getting closer, and I like that. And is Elena going to find out that, Stefan killed Enzo? Or is he going to find that out? I don't know if, Elena's going to find that out. I think she will, but I don't know. Were you upset by the lack of Caroline in this episode? I feel like she didn't have to be there. But that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, fantastic episode. My next review will be for, tonight's episode of Continuum. So I will see you guys for my review of that. Okay, bye.